is also going to be a timing issue. Because it's a supply, how are you going to say when there is a transfer of property? When are you going to say that it's completed? Can you look at a service which is happening on continuously like a building, where there are so many running bills are there, 5 years the project goes on, then it's very important to determine at which time the tax is applicable. So probably the principles of service tax under the point of taxation rules will come into being. That will be put into place. Let's look at one specific value add. Here I am speaking from information. Till now what I was speaking about is general. My view of what the government should do or what it is doing, and whatever they have said they are doing, I have put it to you. Now I am talking on my subject, which is indirect tax. And this will be important for all of you who are interested in getting into GST. This particular 2-3 slides, very important. The concepts are going to be borrowed from all the tax laws. The VAT laws concepts will be borrowed, CST law concept will be borrowed, service tax concept will be borrowed, excise concept will be borrowed. Which are those concepts which are going to be borrowed is what I am going to discuss in the next 2-3 slides. First, central excise. The most important aspect of GST, as I had mentioned earlier also, was seamless credit. And if I were to look at seamless credit, will it really be seamless? My answer is no. It will not be, because the law is being drafted by the bureaucrats. Our chartered accountants, however competent we are, how many of our books we have written, we will never be invited to make the law. Those babus only make the law and then somebody passes it. So I expect some problem, but as far as we as practitioners are concerned, as far as we as business advisors are concerned, it is very important that you understand CENMAT credit rules if you are interested in looking at this very vital aspect of how much credit would be available in the GST regime. There is going to be 2 aspects of credit. Number 1 aspect of credit is going to be, what about the credit already there? For example, I am a trader on Russell Street. I already have VAT credit on the appointed day, maybe on 1st April 2017. I am getting into GST. What happens to my credit? So it should be carried forward. Will there be any restrictions on that? Can I ensure that I am carrying forward the right figure? These are challenges which will come in our way. Second challenge on credit will be, I am a trader on Russell Street, but I imported the goods. When I imported the goods, I paid 18% as CVD and SAD. 18%, can I lose that? Should I not be eligible for that on all my stocks in hand? Say I have 2 crores of stock. 18% of that is a large amount of money, much more than I make in the whole year. Because my margin is not 16%, my margin is 2 or 3%. So if I miss on the closing stock, taking credit, then my business is wiped out in the first year itself of GST. Here a lot of challenges will come. Because under income tax I am showing stock of 2 lakhs, but actually my stock is 2 crores. So what will I show? Can I show 2 crores? If I show 2 crores, what will happen to the income tax? There are going to be a lot of transitional issues in this. For your information, there is this GST book which has been shared with you. In addition to this, there has been a transitional research project of the institute. GST research on transitional issues. It is expected to be on the website in another maybe 10-15 days. And if it is not there, please write to the Indirect Tax Committee, ask them what's happening. We have submitted it around 10 days back from Bangalore. We had a research group. We had around 18 professionals, including lawyers. And we have given a small book on GST. 37 chapters are there. And we have looked at each thing. How do you can carry forward VAT, how you can carry forward service tax credits, how central excise credits, how everything. Including CST, because CST is also a cost for the goods. I should get it in the GST regime. Say I have bought goods under CST and now I have to pay GST, which is going to be 24%. And when I am paying 24%, can I lose that credit of 2% on the GST, CST, which I have bought under Form C? I should not lose even 1 rupee. It's going to be very vital, this particular aspect. So SENVAT credit, I think, is by far the largest impact, and we should ensure that our client maximizes it by ensuring that we are ready, he is ready, and he is enabled to ensure that he gets the full possible credit. Of course, SENVAT credit under GST should be a one-day topic whenever GST comes. That I am sure ERC will conduct. Next is dispute resolution. Dispute resolution is a big issue. You look at the state VAT laws. I don't know about your West Bengal state VAT laws. In the state of Karnataka and many of the southern states where I have some idea of what happens in the VAT law, almost, if you want to fight with the government, it's a losing battle. First you pay all the money, then you fight with them. You give for 30% pre-deposit in cash, balance 70% you give a bank guarantee. Therefore, any officer can close your business, basically. If you are working on 3%, 4% margin, any VAT officer can come and close your business. That is what it means. But it's not so in the indirect tax laws. Though they have started borrowing from the VAT laws in the last 1 or 2 years, it is not so. Even if there is a 20 crore demand on the client, I can tell the client, don't worry about it. At most, you will have to pre-deposit 7.5% at the first stage of appeal and balance 2.5 at the second stage of appeal, and you are going to win this case. But still it is 10%. This also is a recent development, last 2 years. Earlier to that there was no pre-deposit. So whatever the demand, we were fighting demands where it was 1,800 crores. We used to tell the client, why are you bothered? Can you pay the 1,800 crores? He said, I can't pay 10 crores. Then I said, why do you bother? We are going to win the case for you finally. There was no pre-deposit at that time. Now there is a pre-deposit. So that part of it is a little problem. We expect all the dispute resolution methods in GST to come from central excise. The demand sections, the time, the interest, the limitation period, everything we expect to come from central excise. Under VAT there is no limitation. Recently there was a L&T judgment. Now these fellows are going back 8 years. Ridiculous, I'll tell you. I don't know how we as Indian citizens have, allowed this to happen. We are allowing it, even Karnataka we are allowing it. But it is really sad. So dispute resolution come from central excise. We are talking about GST being on supply, right? And therefore removal. Removal is what? You are not selling, you are removing from your factory. And at the time of removal, will do. This can be good news or bad news for you, but anyway you will come to know. So removal is basically like a supply, and therefore all the case laws which are there in excise, when are goods said to be removed, when they are said not to be removed, captive consumption, is it a removal? All these questions will all come in GST and all resolved already in excise. It's not a new concept in excise. Removal is there for the last 50 years. So you go back to excise law, understand removal. So removal is going to be a concept which is very important as far as goods are concerned. Maybe for the services we have a different law which is there. Next is, since GST is going to be on supply, that means even a stock transfer will have to suffer GST. How are you going to value the goods? The value of the goods will have to be on intrinsic value of that goods. Can you find out so easily? So what are the rules for that? Again in excise, because removal was there, valuation rules were there. There are 11 rules which set out when goods are not sold, or when goods are sold but they have a taint, or they have a color, they have an influence, they are not at arm's length. Then you have a central excise valuation rules which says how goods are going to be valued. So that rule also is going to be applied in GST, I think. More or less they will cut, paste, remove the names. That's what I expect. self-assessment principle will hopefully be continued, I say. Why have I said this? Because if you look at VAT law, the way it's administered, VAT is a self-assessment. But have you ever felt it is a self-assessment? Maybe in 2005 or 2006 when it was implemented, we felt finally self-assessment has come. But today it is not so. It is not at all self-assessment. Everything is the old thing only. They have found ways and means of reassessing everything. Reassessment has become a route to be followed in all cases, or maybe 70-80% of the tax provision part of the, whatever the tax is collected, 80% self-assessment is not there. It should be the other way around. Self-assessment should be there for 90% of the income, 10% of the income of the state. You can still have checks and balances to see that there is some amount of, you can say, deterrent for the person who does not pay, errant taxpayer. For him there has to be a deterrent which should be there. So hopefully self-assessment in full will be taken. This is because if I trust you, how can you betray me? Simple philosophy. In your house you can use it, in your office you can use it, then why the country cannot use it? We are doing so much of work on trust. My partner is there, whatever he says is correct, otherwise he may collect cash and he may not share it with me. My office, I am letting such a lot of intellectual property in my office. Anybody with a pen drive can collect all the opinions he has and all the cases we have fought, he can put it on a pen drive and go away. I don't stop anybody. If he takes it away, it's bad luck. I trust him. Hopefully it is not happening. So I think trust is very important, and hopefully in the GST we will have self-assessment principles really in place. Under excise duty it is more or less self-assessment. There are some off and on some what you can say aberrations to the system, but more or less it's applying, and that's why I hope that central excise system will also come to GST. What about customs, import duties? The customs will continue. So any of your youngsters who are planning to you are looking at what area I should get into, I could recommend custom duty with FEMA and FTP. Brilliant area to be in. Brilliant area. Because exports from India are going to go up. You require to know custom duty, you require to know your foreign trade policy well, and see that the benefit which is there under the foreign trade policy can accrue to the clients of yours. It's a brilliant area to continue, be in. And nothing is going to change as far as customs is concerned. Customs is going to be there forever. You have of course the other two which are getting subsumed. That duty equal to excise 12.5% is going to get subsumed under GST, and the SAD also is going to get subsumed. Special additional duty of customs which is 4%. We also expect that the classification principles under GST will be 100% as per customs, because customs is based on the harmonized system of nomenclature. Incidentally, central excise is also based on the harmonized system of nomenclature. That means that if you have any issues in classification, if at all under GST you have issues in classification, you have a reference point of old case laws of customs and central excise for you to refer. First you apply the principles under GST and you still have a doubt, go to the old case laws of customs or central excise for your particular product. 90% of the time you just have to put your product and the case law will be available. Nowadays you have softwares which are available, Tax India Online, you have Excurse, I'm sure even India Kanun is there, even Google itself will give you many things, but I think Google is not very reliable as far as practice is concerned, because you require to get little more information on that. But however, this is what is going to come from customs. So if you are looking at customs, these are the principles which will continue. All other principles will disappear. Disappear in the sense not relevant to GST. What about value-added tax? What will happen under value-added tax? Will anything which is there under VAT be applicable under GST? May not be anything. I don't think any part of VAT will ever come. Whatever VAT you have in West Bengal, very few principles, if at all, will be there in the GST. CST, yes. Central sales tax principles will be there in GST. But the state VAT law, hardly anything will be there in GST, because this law has, you can say, failed us. It has not worked well in any of the states. Between states there are differences, so it may not be applicable at all. CST, very important from looking at interstate sale. Why is interstate sale important? Because now we are going to be destination based. Depends, the tax rate which I apply will have to be the tax rate which is applicable to the state of destination. So if you are sending goods from Calcutta to Tamil Nadu, you need to know the rate of Tamil Nadu. Of course, this need to know because of technology may not be very difficult. If you have a good software, you click Tamil Nadu, automatically it will give you. In fact, you don't have to click Tamil Nadu also. If your customer's GSTN number is there, you put the number, automatically it will open up Tamil Nadu only. That rate will be available, you click it and that's how the invoices can be generated. But maybe the sale in the course of import, which is going to continue, we don't have any amendment to that in the constitution. The sale in the course of export, there is no amendment to that. So we may have those principles continuing. What is that principle? Sale in the course of import is, say there is a party in, there is a medical hospital which wants to procure some goods in West Bengal, and they place an order with XYZ. Who imports the goods based on this order? Since there is an intrinsic link between that hospital which has placed the order and that dealer who has actually imported the goods, the dealer does not have to charge any West Bengal VAT. Directly when the goods come, without taking delivery, goods will move to the hospital and there will be no West Bengal VAT on that, because it's being consumed and taken by that hospital. So this principle will continue. Similarly, when you export goods, in the course of movement of the goods, once it has crossed the custom border of India, it can be endorsed to anybody, and still it would enjoy the fruits of being called an export. So these principles will come from CST. Valuation aspects, as far as the sale part of it is concerned, whatever we say under GST, 80% of what is removed is going to be sold. 20% will be the aberrations, right? Anybody who is removing goods, 80% of the time he is selling it. So if he is selling it, then we need to know what is the valuation for sale. That probably from CST you will get that principle. Service tax, I think you have to tell that gentleman to go outside, he is disturbing people around. And also me. Place of supply rules, very important. Today you have place of supply rules, POPs is available in your service tax. How many of you practice service tax? Can you lift your hand? Oh, you have lots. Okay. So you already know place of supply rules, more or less little here and there changes as far as services are concerned. I expect maybe some of the issues which need not be so will be dealt in GST, and we'll have a better place of provision of service rules in place in GST, which will be based on service tax. You will also have the POTR, as I had already told you, and also to decide whether which state. If you look at the POPs rules which came in the initial stages, you would have seen that there was an education guide, and in that education guide all examples were between states. So this POPs rule was not meant for service tax, it was meant for GST, which was supposed to come. But GST kept on getting delayed, and therefore you still have the service tax continuing. Otherwise, if you see when the POPs rule came, we thought, okay, GST is going to come anytime. Let's look at some of the features which we have already heard little, maybe little more. This is for clarity. From origin to destination, base consumption tax, that is what GST is going to be. And it will apply at all stages like your VAT. Only thing is, it's going to be on goods as well as services. It's not only supply of goods, it's supply of services also. Earlier it used to be on manufacture, on sale or provision of service. Now everything is going to be supply of goods or services made for a consideration, except except in certain cases. What are those exceptions? Exceptions will be kept to a minimum. Exempted goods, whichever are exempted, and you probably will have a small list. Maybe exempted goods will be about 40 or 44 per state. There is a big band of 90 odd which is available. Within that, the state has to choose whatever the number, 40, 44 they will choose, and that will be exempted in that state. So the next state, that may not be exempted. So there will be little variation in exempted goods in different states. Goods or services outside the purview of GST, we are going to look at that in the next few slides. And then there are small fellows, small service providers, small traders, below 25 lakhs turnover. Those people probably will not be covered by GST at all. Now whether they will require to cover to make themselves competitive, another question. But you will still have some exemption, and considering that service tax will come at 24%, what do you think will happen? Service provider is so easy. Mr. Madhukar, Mrs. Madhukar, Mr. Master Madhukar, if you have more children, Miss so and so and Miss so and so. Maybe in my family itself I can cover. We are 6 adults in my family, I can cover 6 probably. I don't know whether people will do that. At least for those transactions where the persons cannot take credit. So if service tax is going to come at that rate, there is going to be certainly a problem. Government ideally should bring in GST at a rate of 16, not above 16. So over a period, if they feel there is a need, they can take it up little. Today they are talking about we'll bring it at 24, next year we'll make it 22, next year we'll make it 20, next year we'll make it 18. First of all, it is unbelievable for us. It is like a tiger, after it has attacked you and killed you, it will not eat you. It is like that. I don't think it is believable at all. Anyway, let's see what the government does. There is also possibility that since the states are giving a lot of objection, the share of the states will be higher than the share of the center. That means if it is going to be 24, I am taking a realistic figure of 24, I hope it will be much lower. Okay? If it is going to be 24, then the states will have a facility to charge 13% and the center will get 11. So there will be a gap of 2% between the center and state to encourage the states to get into GST. Basically, your share will be more, boss. Get in. What are the taxes likely to be subsumed into the CGST and the SGST? You will have excise, you have additional duties of excise, then you have those which are applicable on toilet preparations, customs, service tax, all the surcharges and cesses, all of this would get covered under the CGST. Then you have state taxes where you have VAT, purchase tax, entertainment, luxury, entry tax. Entry tax they had a very big difficulty in putting through. States agreed only after the center said that I will give you 1% for 2 years. Just like CST, non-vatable 1%. But you bring in non-vatable, you are again building uncompetitiveness, cascading effect of duty is built in. It's not a great idea, but anyway, center has been forced to do that. But then multiplicity of taxes disappears. Lotteries and again surcharges, cesses. So goods which are not covered, this is very important. Though this list is very small, very significant. Alcohol for human consumption, we also don't want it. It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't go into business. If at all, it's it's a disincentive. Electricity, very important. Electricity is a huge cost for people. I don't know what is the electricity cost in West Bengal. In some states, it's gone up to 8.5 rupees per unit for industrial use. It's huge. And if you're a process industry, maybe 40% of your expense is only electricity. Then why the taxes on the electricity are not being allowed to be taken? Any electricity project which is done by any of your ESCOMs, Westcom or whatever it is called here, the projects are all 100,000 crores, 200,000 crores. In any project of 200,000 crores, the total indirect tax involved in the 200,000 crores is 50,000 crores. 25% minimum. Customs is there, excise is there, service tax is there. Minimum 25 to 30% of any project is indirect tax cost. So why that is not being allowed to be passed on to the ultimate side? So here we have a problem. There is also some problem in the constitution. Stamp duty, real estate, as I already spoke about, wherever it is used for business, I am going to lose out on that, which is again a big amount. I don't know what is the state in this place. Recently we were trying to open an office in Gurgaon. I was shocked. The maintenance is 25 rupees per square feet. Maintenance, but not rent. In Bangalore I pay less rent than the maintenance in Gurgaon. Rent of course is 100 rupees. Finally we were forced to take it because there is no other place available. What I am trying to say, all these are costs on which I should be able to get SANVAT. The building which has been put up, 25% of the building is VAT and service tax. Why am I not able to get, the steel is there, excise duty is there in steel, lift is there, excise duty, service tax, VAT is there in that, 25%. I should get all that back. Today I am not getting it back. Petroleum products, if you look at West Bengal or you look at Karnataka, 30 to 40% of the total collections of West Bengal through taxes will be coming from this petrol and diesel only. You know, the international price from $150, it came down to $50, $55, $60, whatever it is now, but our price did not come back then. Whenever it went up, they increased the price, they made it 80, 85 and all. Now how much is it here? 70?
75.
Huh?
75.
Hardly anything. The crude oil price fell to 40%. So how much your petrol should have been? 35 rupees. Actually, rest is all your taxes. Either the center is taking it, or the oil companies are taking it, or your state government is taking it. Anyway, petroleum products also very important. Your goods have to move. You have to move. Why there should be any restriction on that? So these goods are not covered, which are a problem under GST. Tobacco products, again, we don't want. Tobacco and alcohol, we are not concerned. Let them do whatever they want with it. Because if they make one cigarette 100 rupees also, the smoker is going to continue to smoke. Maybe for 1 week he will give up smoking one full packet, he will say, no, I am going to reduce and all. After 1 week, maybe if he is a chartered accountant, he will increase his fees. I am also a smoker, incidentally. I don't think I will ever give up. My wife has been after me for 20 years. Now she has stopped. Because I told her, when I go up, that also will go off. So what are the features of GST? GST principle is that most of the products should be under a uniform single rate. In many countries there is only one rate, but not in all countries. So what is expected in India, considering the type of country we are, the type of practices we have, I think there will be 4 rates, including the nil rate. Merit rate, every country has 2 rates at least, nil and exempted. Nil and taxable. So we have 4. Probably we will have a merit rate. What are these goods? Those goods which were hitherto exempted in the states, hitherto exempted in excise, all these probably will come into the merit rate. Standard rate for goods or services in general could be between, as per the CBEC, it could be between 22 and 27%. What I understand is 24 is what is being bandied about, and maybe it will get settled at 22 or so. We don't know. Nil rate for exempted goods and services, and precious metals 1%. Again, this is because we have been doing that for a long time. There will also be an optional exemption for all those people who are under special scheme. Now, for example, a works contractor will be exempted up to some level. All others, 25 lakhs is what they are thinking. We don't know what will happen. But there will be an optional exemption and a different scheme, especially for those who cannot keep such records. If you look at the Kirana shop which is near my house, or the small uneducated contractor who is there, maybe he cannot maintain the records. So he will also have to pay GST, but there will be some scheme. Maybe you pay 3%, no credit. Something like that will be there and he will be let off.